And welcome to this webinar in which we're going to talk about teaching listening and speaking skills to young learners online. We're going to like a toolkit of different solutions in order to handle these challenges. But before, I have a question to ask you. What kind of cell phone are you using? You're using Android or iPhone? In the chat box. You can start sharing now. Using Android or iPhone. So anybody typed any answers? All right. Well, I see that most people use Android. And here we have another question. If you'd like to have a different cell phone, would you like to have an iPhone? Most people would say yes. And here is the question. Why? Why would you like to have an iPhone? The story that dates back to 2006 when Steve Jobs was having dinner with his wife. So Steve Jobs got his first iPhone out of his pocket and start going through his first iPhone. So at that point, Mark looked at him and said, wow, you're trying to keep people from BlackBerry and replace it with an iPhone. Here, Steve Jobs looked at him into the eye and said, what's happening today? Everybody's getting used to it. So if you're working on something exciting that you really care about, the vision pulls you. And speaking of the vision, here we have 3 questions to think about. Why and how? What do you want to do? Why do you want to do it? And how you're going to do it? The question is, how can we put them in order? Like which one comes first? Here, Simon Sinek, golden circle vision, in which he has the 3 questions: why, how, and what. The vision, the philosophy, like why you're doing what you're doing, or trying to understand the underlying process of tools in order to get that vision done. And finally, get the final product. So think about this golden circle and connect it to teaching young learners. We're going to understand the whole process. Here, we have lots of whys when it comes to teaching young learners online. But before we start, young learner. So the term young learner can denote the foreign language learner in preschool through secondary school. I have this question for you. Do you encounter challenges when teaching listening and speaking online to young learners? What are these challenges? So here, pulling down there the screen, you have 1 question and you have 5 answers. Choose the answer that should better represent what you encounter while teaching young learners at school in different situation. Like they can be responsive to activities, they can speak in their first language, they can be too hyperactive, they can get bored quickly, or they are demotivated. Lots of people choosing option number 2. Any more answers? I see some people talking about disruptive students. Could be because they are hyperactive. All right. Any more answers? Before we end the polling? Oh, distractions are so challenging. Thank you, Talal. Right. And we end polling. Here, according to results, most people choose option number 2, which is like most young learners speak in their first language. Share some answers connected to distraction, disruptive students. So based on that we have in the classroom, how can we handle this situation? So this leads to understand young learners. And in order to understand young learners, here are some characteristics collected. Like most young learners have short attention span, and I think you've already noticed that when dealing with young learners. They want to cover and explore everything. Like sometimes you find them going here and there, trying to find out what's going on. Also, when you have things and lots of explanation, they try to get the overall meaning. They don't care about details. Attracted to young learners is that they are egocentric. Like most of the time, they focus on themselves. And when it comes to imagination, of course, they're the best. They have really rich imagination. To be taken in favor of teaching process or against the teaching process is that they learn by imitation. So they're listening to, they're going to get correct output and vice versa. When it comes to presenting content, they prefer content rather than the abstract one. Also, they are hyperactive, energetic, and keep moving. Finally, when it comes to motivation, they are mostly motivated externally rather than internally. These points, how are we going to handle teaching, listening, and speaking online? Challenges and solutions. Remember the golden circle of Simon Sinek? Here we go with the first why. Is represented in this challenge. Young learners sit for long hours in front of their screens. They get bored quickly, attention span. In addition, they find it difficult to understand instructions they listen to. Have you ever had this with? Yes, just type in the chat box. You're right. You have this challenge maybe happening almost every day. So how can we handle this? I'll talk about some toolkit that can help us handle each situation. Sometimes they work in a specific situation, they work in a different alternative. That's why we're going to have different options to deal with. So one of the solutions that really with action. So whenever you start any class, try to start with action. And when it comes to and jumping all the time, it comes to the learning station, one of the best recommended. Have different options, different songs. Students can just, imitate it and just do the same. They're gonna love it. It can work as a brain breaker. Like sometimes when they get bored or they feel like, they have been, working for a long time to charge their energy. Simon Says, never gets old. It works all the time with different students. Students to play a role. So instead of you giving the instructions or asking them to do this or do that, you can do it. And of course, they will all compete in order to play that role. And also another option. And if you notice here, it's mostly connected to action because some like they're fading, they're not paying attention anymore. So once they move, they change focus and they when you ask them to bring something to the camera, like bring a cell phone to the camera, bring something round, something yellow. So they go and bring it. And in order to avoid, consuming lots of time, the space of the research. Like for example, look for something round in your room, or in the class in. So instead of just, going somewhere else, wasting time, no, you can limit the space they're moving and happening quickly. One of the favorite games, scavenger hunt. Scavenger hunt plays different roles in this process. Like, as we said first, they send each other and they try to find something as quickly as possible. So whenever they feel like, they're going to get a bonus, virtual chocolate, this is going to make them eager to do it and at the same time move and recharge their energy. So that was the first why. Another why is connected to our second challenge for today. Learners prefer realia to abstract concepts. So, for example, if we're talking about an apple, so it's better to get rather than just, drawing a picture or getting something abstract. They prefer realia. So what you teach is not only connected to concrete concepts. So we need to have different, having some kind of grading the process. So in order to do that, we're going to move to another that works with most students is representing that website with lots and lots and lots of really fun games for you. Choose a specific game either based on the topic that you're handling or the kind of vocabulary you're using, the topic. Simply you can bring a picture of something and ask students to bring something from home. And now since most students are just taking classes from home, so it's easy for them to find different stuff you're looking for. And so you can focus on some different stuff. First, they start with bringing the same thing itself, then words, and so on. So now you're moving gradually from having something concrete to something less concrete, an abstract word representing the thing that you talked about in the first place. What do I have? Riddles. So whenever you want students to pay attention to something, you can keep them guessing about something, see it, and you keep giving different clues. They keep guessing and guessing until they get the thing. So show them the picture of the thing or the thing itself. So if we're talking about moving gradually from to the abstract concept, so first show them the thing itself, then a picture, then a word. Like once they've got the concept represented in an apple, for example, then they can have a picture, then And also can take turns doing this, and they're gonna love it. A third solution, missing has different variations. It can work with different parts of the body, like you can get a face, for example, with nose, eyes, whatever, and then they guess the missing part. So again, based on moving from the abstract one, so they can start first hiding some parts. You as a teacher hiding your eyes, and they guess what's missing. So they're going to say eyes, maybe they're going to say nose or ears, and correct answers. Then you're going to try with a picture. Then you're going to get students to do that. So this is going to help students connect vocabulary, gradually. So by the end of the game, you can pen just a circle with words in places of different parts of the face. So instead of just, you can have the word eyes. Instead of just having, like ears, you have the word ears. Ear one, ear. Students are going to guess the word instead of just guessing the thing itself or based on what they see for themselves. Also, in another game in which you can help students practice vocabulary, and meanwhile, teacher saying different names of animals. Maybe at this point, you're going to correct pronunciation of some words or focus of your lesson. But in all cases, it's again going back to the same thing, which is moving from to the abstract one. Of course, in this case, it's not realistic to have all the animals in order to have the like, maybe small pictures, if they have puppets as well, like, if they have teddy bear, they can have a teddy bear or a doll representing, any kind of animal, and they can create their. Another why is connected to a different challenge this time. And the most important challenges, because learners are egocentric. They're self-oriented, really, really competitive. So when they are really competitive, this means a way for absorbing this energy out of students. Also, it's connected to another problem. Most students are externally motivated. Like if you want them to do something, you have to find some external motivation, attracted and, attached to what you're talking about. So how can we handle this challenge? The house that can work with this challenge is simply competitions. Have competitions that you can teach, and listening and speaking can turn into a competition. Mentimeter is one of the sites in which you can have interactive presentations and can have games as well. And sometimes you can use practice speaking, but in a competitive way. So when you practice speaking in a competitive way, you find everyone want to share. Even if they don't know the accurate answer, or even if they don't know the right answer, but they feel like, kind of atmosphere of winning, trying to help even shy students to share. So let's play. You ready? So please go to this website, and I'm going to share play this game together. The website in the chat box for you to get. Just a second. So here's the website. Share a screen with the code that you're going to use in order to play the game. All right, here we go. You have the code. So when you go to this website, all you do, just type the code and you choose a name. All right, yeah. Here. Guys, if you can see my screen, here's the code that you can use for joining the game. And you're in. So anybody join the game? So do you have any problems joining the website? Here's the code you can use. So once you join the game, you're going to have rules. And this is really important also for learners, because sometimes they can do stuff that can or not. So here it's really necessary to share these rules with students. Like for example, in this game, they're going to watch to answer questions based on their ability to remember details of these questions. The game can also be used in order to help students improve their fluency when they speak. Like they can watch, but during that time, all what they have to do is just to describe, only describe. So here we don't care more about accuracy. Instead, we care more about fluency. So the more they keep talking and talking within the 20 seconds. After that, they can move to the question in order to answer. So goals. First, we can, help students be competitive if this is what they're going to enjoy. And on the other hand, we help them when just looking and keep describing, keep recalling vocabulary without thinking. So all they have to do is just to talk instantly, quickly, allow them to think about all the mistakes that they're making. And then we can move to the next stage. Can you see? So imagine that one of the learners is going to describe everything that they see. Like here, you can see a plate, glass, it looks like juice, a napkin, you know, someone's eating using chopsticks. So here again, you can even move from vocabulary to complete sentences and so on. Of course, depending on the level of student, you move from one stage to another, and meanwhile, everyone is having fun. Then you move to the here. You can move also to another picture. We achieve the goal of getting students to be egocentric if this is what they're going to enjoy. And of course, you can design your own games based on the topic that you're handling, or you can get students to, you know, share. That is similar to Mentimeter is Kahoot, and I think with it. So again, it's about gamification. So when we're talking about gamification, we're talking about, you know, fun, like, you know, we have winners. And of course, you know, having more than one turn of the game on different stages of in this process. So they feel like they're all included in this situation. Also design your own games, or you can have ready-made games as well. It's a platform that serves a bit different, you know, purpose here. Like sometimes you find we're a bit shy. So when you have Padlet, they can have their own account in order to share their audios, their videos. They can be anonymous if they're not going to post through their own account, or they can use their own account if they want to, you know, sharing. So it's like, you know, a wall for everyone to pin whatever they have regarding audios or videos, since we're talking about speaking. So all they have to do, you can just, you know, ask them to do a specific task. And after that, you can ask to post or videos based on the content that you are presenting. So here they don't feel like they are under a microscope, or you're just focused on feedback alone, like everyone is just sharing like everyone else. Quizlet, one of the most powerful tools that can be used for making quizzes, for modifying quizzes, and also for tailoring level of students. Like here, as you see on screen, there are different levels according to SEF, B2, C1, C2, and so on. So you choose the level, you choose the type of content that you want to focus on, and then you're going to find different suggestions of YouTube videos. Video, you have options either to have, you know, all quizzes based on this video, or you can edit the level of your students. You can decide which one is more suitable to them. Quizzer also is another tool that's pretty much similar to the idea of Kahoot and Mentimeter. And have, you know, presentations, live presentations, and also live races, because, you know, students want to be really competitive. So one of the most, you know, favorite websites to most young learners. Let's move to the next slide. This one is connected to learning styles. Not even among young learners, but among learners in general. We're going to find that the majority of people are visual. They learn pictures, videos, PowerPoints, something that's connected to seeing. Auditory learners and kinesthetic learners. So basically, if we put this into consideration, learners in particular, you're going to find it easy to find a specific tool that can help them learn. If they're visual, you focus more on pictures. If they are auditory, you can just, depend on podcasts or just, oral. You can, involve more role playing, taking, so you can help them move in order to match their learning styles. On these styles, how can we tailor different tools used in teaching, listening, and speaking? This is one of the most favorite websites when it comes to teaching different stuff to young learners. The British Council official website for young learners. Here, up there, you have listen and watch, and also we're talking about listening and speaking, but also if you're interested in reading, in grammar, vocabulary, fun and games also, so you can also, but specifically if we're talking about listen and watch, speak and spell, you can have lots of songs there, you can have lots of worksheets, and you can do lots of activities. Also, speak and spell has lots of stories that can be used in different ways, like you can present it to learners, they can just, engage in the story, you can stop and make them guess. You can just, ask them to spot specific words based on what they listen to, because you have the video with English. So when they look at subtitles and connect it to the pronunciation, it's going to also make it easy for them to recognize words. So activities connected to the story, and also they can draw, they can match words to specific meanings or to specific vocabulary mentioned in the story. And you can even use these activities and turn it into games, like specific vocabulary presented in the story, and ask students to play hot seat games, for example. So they sit with their back, type the word, and they try to explain this word without saying it. So they can have fun, they can also remember words mentioned, so they can even draw a comic about the same story that they watched. And now they watch the video, so maybe they have some kind of like visual representation of different characters presented in the story. So this is also lots of fun, and also fun and games. You have lots and lots of games that really engaging students and helping them even improve their ability to make stories in a simple else, in order to help them talk specifically when they make stories on their own. Learners, maybe the previous resource wouldn't work as much as this one. In this one, also exercises connected to listening and speaking, also videos. You can also use audios instead of just videos. So you're going to and also have some kind of reflection on what they watch. And one of the good points that can happen at this stage is also to the content presented. Like if they're watching something connected to a specific value like justice, for example, so they're going brain science connected to their own lives, connected to their own experience, or maybe some kind of situation that happened to them in reality. So also one of the good website, and you have lots of activities ready-made for you to use, and also you can modify them if you want. So if we're talking about visual students, we should also talk about auditory students. So if we're talking about auditory students, is one of the recommended websites in which you have different levels of listening, middle, intermediate, and difficult. Once you choose a specific category, you have different suggestions of different to listening, and they're graded as well. So they listen to the audio, they can listen more than once in order to get important and do lots of exercises. Some of them are connected to vocabulary, others are connected to choosing the correct to. And also, this content can be connected to speaking as well. Like if they're going to have reflection, they can imitate an audio. Like imagine that you're going to do this audio to the website. How are you going to do it? So they can either do like a replica of this audio, or simply they can change names, changing content, changing kind of response to some specific parts of the conversation. So it's going to be lots of fun for young learners of older age. ListenAminute.com is more suitable to students with low altitude, just to listen for 1 minute. Pretty short, pretty simple. And after that, they also do some exercises. But again, you know, exercises presented in these websites. You know, go as wild as you can. Just got students unpredictable, trying to surprise them all the time. Like every time they can do something different. Like they can have like a gallery walk about the content that they've just listened to. They can have their own reflection. They can even have presentations about the content presented. And this is critical thinking. It's not about, the content presented all the time. You can have your own input as well. I don't know if you remember that show or not, but I guess lyrics, are really one of the favorite activities that young learners do, or learners in general can do. That's why it's a website on which you can find a variety of songs, even in different languages. So all I have to do just to choose English, the language, or songs in English. You have, different levels, medium, easy, hard. And also when you start other options like karaoke, quiz, beginner, intermediate, or expert. So you're going to be presented to the song based on the level of students. So this is also lots of fun for students. And of course, you can get them to sing it as well. Replica using the same music of the song or using the same melody of the song. So that would be really fun as well. So most of the time we complain that students are irresponsive, or they don't know what they're talking about, or to react to different questions asked by the teacher. Most of the time because, learners don't know what to say, or to find some kind of content related to the question you're asking. On the other hand, they have another problem, which is too low to understand all the input presented. So short silence at that point. All they have to do is just watch. All they have to do is just say. Even if they're gonna start just saying to do everything they see on screen. For example, Snake Attack, one of my favorite short films that you can watch online. All they have to do is just watch and keep describing everything they see, not stop describing. This is the point again. Accuracy. So all they have to do is just keep describing everything they see on screen. So all the time they're talking, they're trying to be related to everything they see. You can even divide them into groups, and each group starts, describing and move from one group to the whole film. Then again, they try to describe in more, descriptive sentences, accurate sentences, and finally you have a version of the short film. And you have also applications that can comment on the film. So now the film is silent. So all what you have to do is just, match the audio with the film and have their own version of the video. And it's really rewarding to students to, and even if they have any specific platform too, that will be really great and really rewarding to them just to feel like they have produced something new. Here is a very important tip to take care about: the sandwich strategy. What's the sandwich strategy? You start with an appetizer, then you move to the main course, and finally the dessert. So if we're talking about appetizers, we're talking about action, we're talking about moving, we're talking about, being energetic most of the time. This makes them receive the main course. And even while receiving the main course represented in the specific content you're going to introduce to them, either you have to make sure that they are attentive all the time. So whenever you lose the attention, just stop. You don't have to go on with the way to stop. Have some brain breakers, get them to move, do something different, and then they get back to what they're doing. And in my opinion, dessert coming from students is better than just, dessert coming from the teacher. Like putting on reflection, giving their own, input into the process, either by commenting on something, reflecting on something, producing a song, singing a song, doing something connected to what they really see, for their point of view. So they listen to something, so they have the input, they have the ability to talk about it. Meanwhile, we make sure that for them, that's why we have the brain breakers. And finally, we're gonna have everything packaged according to their vision. It's also their vision as well in the process. Resources or more toolkits that you may find useful is WooClap, in which presentations, you can make games, you can get them to share in competitions, either individually or in groups. Stopwatch, since we're talking about competition, so we're talking about timing. So this online website is really helpful for stopwatch. So this is going to, to make them, eager to share all the time and really No Hands. No Hands is a website and also an application that helps students be attentive all the time and the time. So you don't have to choose any specific person. All what you have to do is just to feed in names of different students, and they are all the time students feel like they're going to be chosen. So, at this point, it's really rare for you to lose the attention of any. And here, quizzes as well. You have lots of quizzes, and mostly I do recommend this for grammar. So instead of just, focus on correcting grammar all the time while speaking or trying to get their attention to specific points, so simply you can turn it into a game. And after that, you can check their output again. So maybe it's just, at this point, and it can be solved easily. Or if you feel like, you need more focus to be done on this point in order to, you can do it as well. All right, ready to play again? Are you ready to play again? Yes. Can you type in the chat box? All right, let's go. So, next game. Perfect. So I guess you can see my screen, right? Perfect. So guys, now you have the website www.it, and here is the code. All right, lots of people are ready. Cool. Guys, waiting for you to join. Cool. Join the game. I'm still waiting for players. Auto, Houghton. Excellent. Any more? All right, so simply here you have www.it. You see my screen? So once you go to this website, insert the code. So you just insert this number. Right? Any more? Let's get started. And go. Test your memory. And you choose the color of the answer that you think is the best. According to the golden circle, what is the correct order? Try to remember. Cool. That's good. Next. Oh, Daniel, good job. Last question, true or false? Visual students learn better when listening to audios. Nobody else? Anybody else is gonna answer? Oh. auditory, kinesthetic, or visual learners. All right. A website was based on levels of learners. Can you guess? Cool. Now more competitors. Next. What of students? Try to guess. Oh, let's see. Oh, Daniel, thank you. First place goes to, whoa, Dio. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. So guys,
yes, Marwa. Yeah,
audience.
you have finished, right?
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Yes, Marwa, like you have finished, right?
Yes, yes, I'm done.
Okay. Thank you for your original presentation. We have learned many activities and we have discovered many websites that we can use to improve listening and speaking with our young learners. Now it is time for questions. The first questions
Sure.
we have there is, well, okay, now that you have shown those varieties of website and activities, which advice do you give to those teachers who are who teach in remote areas? The floor is yours.
All right, I'm sorry, there was a problem in the connection. You're talking about activities is living in remote areas?
Yes, I mean, those who like to use those activities in remote areas, what sort of advice could you give them?
All right, yeah, so here a problem that we encounter in these situations. So simply here we have a variety of solutions. Like first trying to get technology might not work. Also trying to look for websites that use lower bandwidth. Like for example, when you have Mentimeter is better. It doesn't need like higher bandwidth, right? And the final solution is to try to find an alternative Like, for example, if you're going to use a game online and maybe you're going to have a technical issue for it, like bring something to the camera. Here you don't need anything. Just students are going to run and get something and bring it to the camera. Students to do the game from their own side. Like, for example, I have a problem with the connection, so I can get another to start the game from their own side. And here we go. Lots of fun. They shared. They felt like they are part of the receivers all the time. They're sharing as well. That works. It really works.
Okay. Thank you, Abdelatif, for your presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, you have just watched Abdelatif Mawa on teaching, listening, and speaking to young learners online. Would like to thank you all for being there today, and would like to invite
sorry,
you.
Flavia, for the interruption. I'm sorry for the interruption. I guess Talal has a question about measuring speaking online. For speaking online, there are rubrics for that. And I guess international tests like the TOEFL IBT or the used in these situations, but being modified according to the level of students. And for talking about young learners, according to requirements, according to the level of students. So simply all what you have to do, just get back to these rubrics and plan or how you're going to present these activities based on these rubrics. But remember, there is a difference between teaching and so don't make students feel all the time they are under test. But also, if you have to do this, I do recommend, and also using some kind of criteria in the SEF, like the speaking criteria needed for students level A1, A2, B1, B2, and so on. All right. So this is also helpful. So, and according to planet. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Mawa, and thank you, everyone. And we hope to see you for our next online session. And bye-bye, and see you.
See you, everybody. Bye.